The champagne glass hit my cheek before I even saw it coming. One moment, I was standing at my son's wedding reception, watching Caleb cut the cake with that new wife of his. And the next I was on the ground with Dom Perignon dripping down my collar and 200 guests staring at me like I'd just performed a magic trick. Chloe stood over me, her white dress pristine, her face twisted into something ugly. "Give me the keys," she hissed. I touched my face. "Excuse me?" "The keys to your apartment. Now." I looked past her at Caleb, my son, the boy I'd raised alone after his mother died, the kid I'd put through college, whose wedding I'd just paid half of. He stood there holding the cake knife, and he wouldn't meet my eyes. "Caleb?" I said. He set down the knife, walked over, helped Chloe pull me to my feet, but not gently. His grip on my arm was hard enough to bruise. "Dad," he said quietly, "just give her the keys. Don't make a scene." "Make a scene?" I almost laughed. "Your wife just assaulted me in front of—" "Kenneth." His voice dropped lower. "The keys, please." I looked around. The DJ had stopped the music. Chloe's parents were whispering to each other near the bar. My daughter Emma stood frozen by the gift table, her husband Rick's hand on her shoulder, both of them watching like this was dinner theater. Nobody was coming to help me. I reached into my pocket, pulled out my key ring, and held it up. "These keys? To the apartment I've lived in for 30 years? The apartment I own outright?" Chloe snatched them from my hand. "Thank you. Now get out." "This is my son's wedding." "And you're embarrassing him." She leaned close enough that I could smell her perfume, something expensive I'd probably paid for. "Leave now, or I'll call security and tell them you tried to grab me." I looked at Caleb one more time, waited for him to say something, to tell his wife she was insane, to at least acknowledge that this was wrong. He adjusted his bow tie and turned away. I left. The apartment building wouldn't let me in. I stood in front of the entrance at 11:30 that night, still in my wedding suit, and pressed the buzzer for my own unit. No answer. I tried the building manager. No answer. I tried the backup code for the main door, the one I'd set up myself, and got an error message. She'd already changed everything. I sat down on the curb and pulled out my phone. Called Caleb. Straight to voicemail. Called Emma. Same thing. Called the building manager again and left a message that probably sounded calmer than I felt. Then I called James Whitmore. "Kenneth?" James sounded groggy. "It's almost midnight." "I need a lawyer." "What happened?" I told him. All of it. The slap, the keys, the locks changed before I could even get home from the wedding. James was quiet for a long moment. "Where are you now?" "Sitting outside my building." "Go to a hotel. Send me the receipts. I'll call you first thing tomorrow." "James." "Hotel, now. Don't do anything stupid." I hung up and checked my wallet. $340 cash, 2 credit cards. I took a cab to the Marriott downtown and paid for a room with a view of nothing. Sleep didn't come. I sat on the bed and thought about the last time I'd seen my wife, 19 years ago, a week before the cancer finally won. She'd been so weak she could barely lift her head off the pillow, but she'd grabbed my hand hard. "Take care of them," she'd said. "Promise me." I'd promised. I'd kept that promise. Put both kids through college debt-free. Co-signed Caleb's first apartment lease when his credit was garbage. Paid Emma's medical bills when Rick's insurance lapsed. Covered their mortgage payment 4 times when Caleb's consulting business hit rough patches. Bought birthday presents for their kids, my grandchildren, who I barely got to see anymore. And tonight, Caleb's wife had slapped me, stolen my keys, and kicked me out of my own son's wedding while he stood there and watched. I pulled up my banking app, checked my accounts. Everything was still there. My savings, my investments, the automatic transfers I'd set up years ago to help Caleb and Emma with their monthly expenses. $1,500 to Caleb every month, $800 to Emma. Like clockwork, for years. I opened my email and found James's contact information. started typing. By 3 in the morning, I had a plan. James called me at 8 sharp. I talked to a colleague who specializes in property law. He said, "Your daughter-in-law can't legally bar you from your own apartment. We can have the police escort you in, get the locks changed back, and file charges for assault if you want to press it." "No, Kenneth, I don't want the police involved. I don't want charges filed. I want you to do something else." I heard him exhale. "I'm listening." "Cancel every automatic payment I have set up. Caleb, Emma, all of it. Retroactive to the 1st of this month if possible." Silence. "James? You're sure about this?" "Completely." "That's going to cause them significant financial hardship. Caleb's mortgage alone." "I'm aware." Another pause. "What else?" "I need you to find out what property access rights I have. What I can legally do to get back into my apartment without making this a circus. And then I need you to draw up some paperwork. Trust amendments, power of attorney revocations, beneficiary changes, everything. I want a full audit of every financial connection I have to my children." "Kenneth, maybe you should take a few days to think about—" "I've had all night to think about it. How soon can you start?" He sighed. "I'll have preliminary documents by end of business today. Can you come to my office at 4? "I'll be there." I hung up and ordered room service. Ate breakfast while I went through my phone, documenting everything. Screenshots of the automatic payments, records of every loan, every gift, every time I'd helped them out of a financial hole. I had a spreadsheet going back 7 years. The total made my stomach turn. Just over $280,000. My phone buzzed. Text message from Emma. "Dad, what happened last night? Chloe said you got upset and left. Are you okay?" I stared at the message, read it 3 times. She knew exactly what had happened. She'd been standing right there, but here she was, playing dumb, probably at Caleb's request. I didn't reply. Another text came through 5 minutes later. "Caleb says you're not answering your phone. He's worried about you." I turned off my phone. James's office was in a glass tower downtown, the kind of place where the receptionist offered you espresso and the chairs probably cost more than my first car. He met me in the lobby himself, looking concerned. "You look like hell," he said. "I slept in a hotel." "Kenneth, let's just get to work." He led me upstairs to a conference room with a view of the river. Spread out across the table were stacks of documents, all flagged with colored tabs. "I pulled everything," James said. "Every financial connection you have to Caleb and Emma. It's extensive." "Show me." He walked me through it. The automatic payments, the co-signed loans, the credit cards I'd added them to years ago for emergencies that had become regular use. I was listed as a co-owner on Caleb's business accounts. I'd guaranteed Emma's car lease. I'd even set up a college fund for my grandchildren that both kids had access to. "If you cut all of this off," James said carefully, "Caleb's business is going to fold within 60 days. Maybe sooner. Emma and Rick will default on their car payments within 30. Their credit will be destroyed." "And legally I can do this?" "Everything here is your money, your accounts, your guarantees. Yes, you can revoke all of it." He paused. "But Kenneth, this is your family. My family threw me out of a wedding and stole my apartment keys." "Chloe threw you out, not Caleb." Caleb stood there and watched. James leaned back in his chair, studied me. "What's the end game here? You want to punish them? Teach them a lesson? Get their attention?" "I want them to understand what they've taken for granted." "This is going to burn bridges." "The bridges are already burned. They just don't know it yet." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he pulled out a pen and started going through the documents, explaining what each one would do, where I needed to sign. It took 2 hours. When we finished, James walked me to the elevator. "The payment cancellations will hit their accounts in 3 to 5 business days," he said. "After that, It's going to get ugly fast. Good. Kenneth, he put a hand on my shoulder. I've known you for 15 years. You're not a vengeful person. Are you absolutely sure about this? I thought about Chloe's face when she'd grabbed my keys, about Caleb turning away, about Emma's text message this morning, pretending she didn't know what had happened. I'm sure, I said. I got back into my apartment the next morning with a locksmith and a police officer, though I didn't file any charges, just established that I was the legal owner and had a right to access my property. The cop looked bored. The locksmith charged me $400. Chloe had left my apartment exactly as it was, which almost made it worse. She'd locked me out just because she could. I changed the locks again. All new keys, none for my kids. The apartment felt different now, smaller, emptier. I'd lived here since before Caleb was born, raised both children in these rooms, and now walking through them felt like touring a museum of my own life. Photos on the walls of birthday parties and graduations. A growth chart penciled on the kitchen door frame. Emma's art project from 3rd grade still on the refrigerator, held up by a magnet shaped like a sunflower. I took the sunflower magnet off the fridge and threw it in the trash. Then I sat down at my computer and started working. James had given me a list of Caleb's business contacts, people I'd introduced him to over the years, colleagues from my consulting days, clients who'd trusted Caleb because they trusted me. I started making calls. Richard, Kenneth Hargrove, listen, I need to talk to you about that contract you have with my son's firm. Richard Thompson, senior partner at a mid-sized investment company. I'd worked with him for 12 years before I retired. Kenneth, good to hear from you. What's up? I'm calling in that favor you owe me, the one from the Morrison deal. Silence. That's a pretty big favor, Kenneth. I know. What do you need? Cancel Caleb's contract, effective immediately. No explanation, just let him know you're going in a different direction. Kenneth, I don't know if... You owe me, Richard. The Morrison deal would have cost you millions if I hadn't caught that accounting error. Your career would have been over. Another pause. Yeah, okay. I'll do it. Thank you. I hung up and moved to the next name on the list. By the end of the week, I'd made 19 calls. 11 of them resulted in canceled contracts, suspended negotiations, or mysteriously lost opportunities for Caleb's consulting firm. I was careful never to badmouth him directly, just called in old favors, reminded people of past business, suggested they might want to reconsider their current arrangements. I was always polite, always professional, always final. My phone started ringing on day 6. Dad, what the hell is going on? Caleb sounded panicked. I let him talk. Thompson just canceled our biggest contract, said they were going in a different direction, no explanation. Then Bartlett called and said the same thing. And now our bank is saying we're overdrawn? Dad, I don't understand what's happening. I waited until I was sure he was finished. You asked Chloe's father to co-sign your mortgage, didn't you? What? No, He stopped. How did you know about that? Because I called him yesterday and told him exactly how much money I've given you over the past 7 years. He was very interested to learn that you've been crying poor while I've been sending you $1,500 a month. You called Gerald? I called everyone, Caleb. Everyone I introduced you to. Everyone who gave you business because they trusted me. They don't trust you anymore. You can't do this! I already did. Dad, please, I'll lose everything. Yes, you will. He started saying something else, but I hung up, turned my phone to silent and set it face down on the counter. It rang 17 more times that day. Caleb, Emma, numbers I didn't recognize. I ignored all of them. At 6 o'clock, someone knocked on my door. I looked through the peephole and saw Chloe standing in the hallway, still dressed like she'd just come from the country club. I almost didn't answer, but I did. What do you want? I asked, not opening the door all the way. We need to talk. No, we don't. Kenneth, please, I made a mistake at the wedding. I was stressed, I'd been drinking, I shouldn't have… You shouldn't have assaulted me? Stolen my keys? Kicked me out? Her face hardened. You're being dramatic. And you're standing in my hallway. Leave. Not until you tell me why you're sabotaging Caleb's business. I'm not sabotaging anything. I'm simply withdrawing my support. He's your son. Yes, he is. And he stood there and watched you hit me. She stepped closer, lowered her voice. You have no idea what you're doing. Caleb is on the edge of losing everything, his business, our house, our reputation. Good. You don't mean that. I've never meant anything more in my life. For the first time since I'd known her, Chloe looked genuinely scared. Kenneth, please. We'll apologize. We'll make it right. Just stop whatever you're doing. You want me to stop? Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave my building. You're not going to contact me again. And you're going to learn to support yourselves without my money. But get out. I closed the door in her face and locked it. Stood there listening to her heels click down the hallway until the elevator doors dinged and she was gone. My phone buzzed. Text message from Emma. Dad, Caleb told me what you're doing. This is crazy. We're family. Please call me. I deleted the message. 3 weeks passed. I didn't answer my phone, didn't respond to emails, didn't go to any of the places I used to go where I might run into Caleb or Emma. I stayed in my apartment, worked through my list, and watched their lives unravel from a distance. James kept me updated. Caleb's business is in bankruptcy proceedings, he told me over lunch at a restaurant across town. Emma and Rick are 2 months behind on their car payment. Your grandson Michael's private school called Caleb to inform him that tuition hasn't been paid. Michael? That stopped me. He's 10 years old. I know. The college fund should have covered that. It did, until Caleb and Emma drained it last year for some home renovations. I set down my fork. They spent my grandson's college fund on renovations? According to the records, yes. I thought about Michael. Smart kid, quiet, loved dinosaurs. Last time I'd seen him was at Thanksgiving, almost a year ago. He'd shown me a drawing of a T-Rex and asked me if I thought dinosaurs were smarter than people thought they were. I'd told him probably. Can we set up a new account? I asked. Just for Michael. They can't touch it. Absolutely. Do it. James made a note. Kenneth, there's something else. Caleb and Chloe are planning to sell their house. They can't make the mortgage payments without your support. Where will they go? I don't know. But they're desperate. Emma called my office 3 times this week trying to get through to you. What did you tell her? That you're not taking calls. Good. He studied me over his coffee cup. Are you sleeping? Enough. You look tired. I'm fine. Kenneth, I'm fine, James. But I wasn't. I was sleeping maybe 4 hours a night, waking up at 3 a.m. with my heart pounding, replaying that moment at the wedding over and over, the sound of the glass hitting my face. Caleb's voice, don't make a scene. My wife's voice, take care of them, promise me. I'd promised. I'd kept that promise for 19 years, and this was what I got. On a Tuesday morning in October, Emma showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the peephole, standing in the hallway with her arms crossed, looking older than I remembered. Tired. She'd cut her hair short. When did that happen? Dad, she said, I know you're in there. Please open the door. I didn't move. Dad, please, I just want to talk. Still didn't move. Fine. Her voice got harder. Then I'll just stand here and talk through the door and hope your neighbors don't mind. Is that what you want? I opened the door. She looked worse up close. Dark circles under her eyes, chapped lips, wrinkled clothes. When was the last time she'd slept? Can I come in? She asked. I stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room, looking around like she was visiting a stranger's house, not the place she'd grown up. You redecorated, she said. No, I didn't. It looks different. Sit down, Emma. She sat on the couch. I stayed standing. I need to understand what's happening, she said. Caleb's business is gone. We're about to lose our cars. Rick got laid off last week because his company is downsizing, and we can't pay the rent, and I don't... Her voice cracked. I don't understand why you're doing this. You were there, I said. At the wedding. You saw what happened. I saw Chloe get upset and... She hit me, Emma. She assaulted me in front of 200 people, stole my keys and kicked me out, and you stood there and watched. I didn't know what to do. You could have said something. You could have helped me. You could have acknowledged that what she did was wrong. I sat down in the chair across from her. Instead, you texted me the next day pretending you didn't know what happened. I was trying to keep the peace. There is no peace. There's only what's actually happening. She wiped her eyes. Dad, please. I'm sorry. We're all sorry. Chloe knows she screwed up. Caleb knows he should have stood up for you. We all know we handled it wrong. But you're destroying our lives over one mistake. One mistake? I leaned forward. Emma, do you know how much money I've given you and your brother over the past 7 years? I don't... $280,000. That's not counting the college tuitions I paid, the co-signed loans, the credit cards, the bailouts, just the direct cash transfers. $280,000. She stared at me. And not once, I continued, not one single time in 7 years did either of you say thank you? Not once did you acknowledge that I was sacrificing my own retirement to keep you afloat. You just took the money and acted like it was owed to you. That's not fair, isn't it? When was the last time you called me for something other than money? She didn't answer. When was the last time you invited me over for dinner, asked how I was doing, sent me a birthday card? Still nothing. I've been supporting you for 7 years, and you couldn't even be bothered to pretend you cared about me until the money stopped. Dad, get out. Please, get out of my apartment, Emma. She stood up, tears streaming down her face. You're going to regret this. When we lose everything, when we're living on the street, you're going to regret this. No, I said, I won't. She left. Slammed the door behind her hard enough to rattle the picture frames on the wall. I sat there for a long time after she was gone, staring at nothing. The phone call came at 2 a.m. I was awake already, couldn't sleep, sitting at my kitchen table with a glass of water and my laptop open to my banking app, just staring at numbers. The phone rang, and I almost didn't answer, but the caller ID said it was Michael's school. Mr. Hargrove? A woman's voice, professional but strained. This is Principal Anderson from Riverside Academy. I'm sorry to call so late, but we have a situation with Michael. My stomach dropped. What kind of situation? He's here at the school, with his father. There's been an incident. What kind of incident? I think it would be better if you came down here, sir. Are you able to do that? I'll be there in 20 minutes. I drove faster than I should have, running 2 red lights, my mind racing through possibilities. Michael was hurt. Michael was sick. Michael was... I got to the school and found Caleb's car parked at a weird angle near the entrance, one tire up on the curb. The front door was unlocked. Inside, I heard voices coming from the principal's office. Can't just break into the school because you're having a financial crisis, Principal Anderson was saying. I wasn't breaking in. I have every right to be here. At 2 a.m, without notice? Mr. Hargrove, you're scaring Michael. I walked into the office. Caleb was standing by the window, looking wild-eyed and desperate. Michael was sitting in a chair in the corner, small and scared, still in his pajamas. Principal Anderson stood between them like a referee. Dad, Caleb said when he saw me. What are you doing here? She called me. I looked at the principal. What's going on? Your son broke into the administrative building and was attempting to access our financial records. Michael was with him. When our security guard confronted them, Michael started crying and gave us your name. I looked at Caleb. You brought your 10-year-old son to help you break into his school? I wasn't breaking in. I needed to know how much tuition was owed, and they wouldn't return my calls, and I thought if I could just see the records, I could figure out a payment plan. At 2 a.m? I'm desperate, Dad. Don't you get that? I'm losing everything. He took a step toward me. And it's your fault. You did this. You destroyed my business. You cut off the money. You turned everyone against me. Caleb, the principal said sharply, you need to calm down. I'll calm down when he stops destroying my life. Michael started crying. Real sobbing, the kind that shakes a kid's whole body. I walked over to him. Hey, buddy, I said quietly. It's okay. I want to go home, he whispered. I know, we'll get you home. I don't want to be here anymore. It's okay. I looked at Principal Anderson. Can I take Michael home? She hesitated. Where do his parents live? About 10 minutes from here. And you're able to do that safely? Yes. She nodded. I think that would be best. Mr. Hargrove, Caleb, you need to leave campus immediately. If you come back without an appointment, we'll call the police. Caleb looked at her like she'd slapped him. Then he looked at me. This is what you wanted, isn't it? To humiliate me? To prove you're in control? I wanted you to understand consequences, I said. Come on, Michael. I took my grandson's hand and led him out of the office. Caleb followed us to the parking lot, still talking, still pleading, but I ignored him. Got Michael into my car and buckled him in. He was still crying. Where's Mom? He asked. I'll call her. She'll meet us at your house. Are you and Dad fighting? Yes. Why? It's complicated, buddy. Is it my fault? That stopped me cold. No, Michael, listen to me. None of this is your fault. Do you understand? None of it. He nodded, but he didn't look convinced. I drove him home, called Emma on the way, told her what happened. She met us at the door, looking frantic, and swept Michael into a hug. Rick stood behind her, looking exhausted. Thank you for calling, Emma said to me, not looking at me, just staring at Michael. We've got it from here. Emma, please, just go, Dad. I went. I couldn't stop thinking about Michael's face, that scared, confused look. Is it my fault? The next morning, I called James. I want to set up a trust for Michael, I said. Education expenses only. Caleb and Emma can't touch it, but they need to know it exists. Are you sure? Yes. Kenneth, if you do this, they're going to see it as an opening. They're going to think you're softening. I don't care what they think. Michael shouldn't suffer because his parents are idiots. All right, I'll draw up the paperwork. And James, I want to meet with Caleb and Emma, all of us together. Your office, tomorrow if possible. What are you planning? To end this. He was quiet. Are you ready for that? No, but I'm doing it anyway. The meeting was set for 2 o'clock the next day. I didn't sleep that night either. Just sat in my apartment drinking coffee and watching the sun come up over the city. They were already there when I arrived at James's office. Caleb and Chloe, Emma and Rick, all sitting on one side of the conference table, like they were preparing for battle. They looked terrible, exhausted, defeated, angry. Chloe wouldn't meet my eyes. Emma kept checking her phone. Rick just stared at his hands. Caleb stood up when I walked in. Dad, thank you for... Sit down, I said. He sat. James took a seat at the head of the table, a stack of documents in front of him. I stayed standing. I asked you here, I said, because this needs to end, not because I've forgiven you, not because I've forgotten what happened, but because I'm tired, and you're desperate, and we need to establish some boundaries going forward. Does this mean you're going to help us? Emma asked. No. Her face fell. What it means, I continued, is that I'm going to lay out exactly what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do, and you're going to accept it because you don't have a choice. Dad, Caleb said, please don't. Be quiet. I'm talking. I looked at each of them in turn. First, I've set up a trust for Michael. It covers his education expenses through college. You can't touch it. You can't borrow against it. You can't manipulate him into accessing it for you. It's his, and only his. Caleb started to say something, but James held up a hand. Let him finish. Second, I'm not giving you any more money. No more automatic payments. No more co-signed loans. No more bailouts. What you've lost is lost. You'll figure it out or you won't. We'll be homeless, Emma said. Then you'll be homeless. That's not my problem anymore. Dad, she stood up. You can't just... Yes, I can. Sit down. She sat, but she was shaking. Third, I said, if you contact me again, calls, texts, showing up at my apartment, I'll file restraining orders against all of you. I mean it. You leave me alone. You're cutting us off completely? Chloe spoke for the first time, her voice small. Yes. But we're family. Family doesn't assault each other at weddings and steal each other's keys. Family doesn't take $280,000 and never say thank you. Family doesn't drag their 10-year-old son to break into a school at 2 a.m. because they're too proud to ask for help. Caleb flinched at that last part. You made your choices, I said. Now live with them. So that's it? Emma asked. You're just done with us? I'm done being taken advantage of. If you want a relationship with me in the future, you'll have to earn it. And I mean actually earn it. Not with apologies or promises, but with years of proving you've changed. Until then, I don't want to hear from you. The room was silent. James looked uncomfortable. Rick was crying quietly. Chloe stared at the table. Emma and Caleb both looked like I'd just told them someone died. Maybe I had. That's all, I said. James will give you copies of the trust documents for Michael. Goodbye. I left before anyone could respond. 3 months passed. I changed my phone number, moved to a different apartment across town, something smaller but nicer with better light. Started going to a new coffee shop, a new gym, new routines that didn't have memories attached. James forwarded me updates. Caleb and Chloe lost their house, moved into a small rental. Emma and Rick filed for bankruptcy. Michael stayed enrolled at Riverside Academy thanks to the trust, and his grades were good. I didn't reach out. Part of me expected them to fight the restraining orders I'd filed, to push back, to make some dramatic gesture. They didn't. They just disappeared from my life. It was like they'd never existed, except for the occasional update from James and the hole in my chest that wouldn't close. I tried to fill it, took up woodworking, started volunteering at a food bank, went on a few dates with a woman named Patricia who worked at the library and didn't ask about my family. None of it helped. The holidays came. Thanksgiving passed. I ordered Chinese food and watched football alone. Christmas was worse. I bought a small tree, put it up in my living room, and then took it down 2 days later because looking at it made me feel sick. On New Year's Eve, James called me. Kenneth, I think you should know. Michael's been asking about you. I almost hung up. What did he say? He asked his teacher if she knew how to find you. Said he wanted to send you a letter but didn't have your address. Did she give it to him? No. She called Emma instead. But Kenneth, he's asking. He misses you. James, I know what you said about contact. I'm just telling you what's happening. I hung up and poured myself a drink I didn't want. Stared at my phone for an hour, thinking about Michael's face that night at the school. Is it my fault? I didn't call. On a Tuesday in February, I got a letter. It was waiting in my mailbox when I came home from the gym. Plain white envelope with no return address, my name handwritten in careful block letters. I opened it in the elevator. Dear Grandpa Kenneth, My teacher said I couldn't have your address, but I found it in Mom's old contacts on her iPad. I hope this letter gets to you. I miss you a lot. Mom and Dad are sad all the time now, and we moved to a new house that's smaller and I had to change schools, but it's okay, I guess. I'm still learning about dinosaurs. Did you know that some scientists think velociraptors had feathers? I think that's cool. I'm sorry if I did something wrong. I don't know why you don't come visit anymore, but I hope you're okay. Dad won't talk about you. Mom cries when I ask. I don't understand what happened, but I wish we could still hang out. I love you. Michael. I read it 3 times. Sat down on my couch and read it again. Thought about throwing it away. Thought about calling James. Thought about getting in my car and driving to wherever Michael lived now and telling him none of this was his fault. Instead, I put the letter in my desk drawer and closed it. Spring came. The city turned green. I kept going to work, kept going to the gym, kept seeing Patricia once a week for dinner and trying to pretend I was a person who had his life together. She never asked about my children, which meant she knew, which meant someone had told her, which was fine. I didn't want to talk about it anyway. In April, James called again. Caleb's trying to rebuild his business, he said. He got a small contract with a startup. Nothing like what he had before, but it's something. Good for him. Emma got a job at a grocery store, management position. Rick's doing construction work. Why are you telling me this? Because they're trying, Kenneth. They're actually trying. That's what they should have been doing all along. I know. I just thought you'd want to know. I thanked him and hung up. Tried to feel something about it. Pride, satisfaction, vindication. Felt nothing. Michael's letter stayed in my desk drawer. Some nights I'd take it out and read it. Some nights I'd leave it where it was and try to forget it existed. In May, Patricia broke up with me over dinner at the Italian place we'd been going to for months. You're not here, she said gently. When we talk, you're somewhere else. When we're together, you're thinking about something else. Someone else. I'm sorry. Don't be sorry. Just figure out what you actually want. Because this isn't it. She was right. I paid the bill and walked her to her car and watched her drive away, and all I felt was relief. On a Sunday morning in June, 1 year after the wedding, I drove to Michael's school. Not to go inside. Not to make contact. Just to see him. James had mentioned that Michael played soccer now, had games on Sunday mornings at the field behind Riverside Academy. I parked across the street and watched through the fence. There he was. Number 7, blue jersey, running down the field with more enthusiasm than skill. He scored a goal and his whole team mobbed him, and I could see his face light up even from this far away. Caleb and Emma were there too, standing on the sidelines with the other parents. They looked older, tired but present. Caleb had his arm around Emma's shoulders. They cheered when Michael scored. I watched the whole game. Watched Michael run and fall and get back up. Watched my children clap for their son. Watched them be a family without me. When it was over, I started my car and drove home. That night, I pulled out Michael's letter again. Read it for probably the 100th time. Sat at my kitchen table with a blank piece of paper in front of me and a pen in my hand. Tried to write back. Tried to find words that would make sense to a 10-year-old, that would explain why his grandfather had vanished from his life without making his parents into villains. Tried to write something that wouldn't hurt him more than my absence already had. I couldn't do it. Put the pen down. Folded the blank paper. Sat there until morning. 3 days later, James called with news. Chloe filed for divorce, he said. I felt something shift in my chest. When? Last week, she's citing financial stress and irreconcilable differences. Caleb's devastated. Did she ask for custody of Michael? Shared custody. Caleb's not fighting it. I think he's too tired to fight anything anymore. Is Michael okay? According to the court documents, yes. But Kenneth, Caleb's falling apart. He's lost his business, his house, his marriage. Emma told me he called her last night talking about how he should have stood up to Chloe at the wedding. How he should have protected you. A year too late. Is it? Is there a timeline on regret? I didn't answer that. Kenneth, I know what they did. I know you have every right to be angry, but at some point you're going to have to decide if this is the ending you actually want. What ending do I want? That's not for me to say. But whatever it is, you better figure it out soon, because one day Michael's going to be old enough to understand what happened, and he's going to ask you why you left. What are you going to tell him? I hung up, sat there staring at nothing. What would I tell him? In July, I went back to the soccer field. This time, I didn't stay in the car. I walked through the gate, stood among the other spectators, and watched Michael play. Nobody noticed me at first, just another grandfather watching his grandson's game. But then Michael looked over during a break, saw me, and froze. His face went through about 6 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, confusion, joy, fear. He started walking toward me, then stopped, looked back at where Caleb and Emma were standing, then at me again. I waved. He broke into a run. "Grandpa!" He crashed into me hard enough to make me stumble, wrapped his arms around my waist. "You came. You got my letter." "I got it," I said quietly. "I'm sorry I didn't write back." "It's okay. You're here now. That's what matters. Do you want to watch the rest of my game? We're winning." I looked up. Caleb and Emma had spotted me. Emma had her hand over her mouth. Caleb looked like he'd seen a ghost. "Yeah," I told Michael. "I want to watch." He ran back onto the field, kept looking over his shoulder to make sure I was still there. I stayed where I was. Caleb and Emma didn't approach me, didn't try to talk, just watched their son play and watched me watch him. After the game, Michael ran over again, sweaty and grinning. "Did you see my assist? I passed to Jeremy and he scored." "I saw. That was good positioning." "Can you come to my next game? It's next Sunday, same time." I hesitated. "Michael, please. I play way better when you're watching." Behind him, Caleb and Emma were walking over slowly, like approaching a wild animal. I looked at my son, at my daughter, at the people they'd become without my money propping them up, tired, struggling, still standing. "Okay," I told Michael. "I'll come to your next game." His face lit up. "Really?" "Really." "Can we go get ice cream after, like we used to?" "Michael," Emma said, finally reaching us. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Grandpa might have other plans." "I don't," I said, looking at her. "Ice cream sounds good." We went to the same ice cream place we'd gone to when Michael was little, a shop downtown with too many flavors and sticky tables. Michael got chocolate chip cookie dough. I got vanilla. We sat at a table by the window while Caleb and Emma hovered near the counter, giving us space. "Why did you stop coming around?" Michael asked, working on his ice cream with intense focus. I'd been dreading this question for a year. "Your dad and I had a disagreement." "About what?" "Adult stuff, money and respect, and how people should treat each other." "Was it about when Chloe hit you at the wedding?" That surprised me. "You saw that?" "Everyone saw it. It was really mean." He looked up at me, serious beyond his years. "Is that why you were mad at Dad?" "Partly." He should have stopped her. "Yes, he should have. He knows that now. He talks about it sometimes when he thinks I'm not listening. Says it was the biggest mistake he ever made." I looked over at Caleb, standing at the counter with Emma, both of them watching us but trying not to be obvious about it. My son looked like he'd aged 10 years in one. There was gray in his hair I hadn't noticed before. "Michael," I said carefully, "I need you to understand something. What happened between me and your dad, that's between us. It's not your fault. It was never your fault. Do you believe me?" "I guess. Not, I guess. Do you believe me?" "Yes." "Good." I finished my ice cream. "And Michael, I'm sorry I stayed away. That was wrong. Even if I was angry at your parents, I shouldn't have stayed away from you." It's okay. No, it's not. But I'm going to do better. His smile came back. So you'll come to more games? I'll come to more games. And we can hang out sometimes? We can hang out sometimes. Can you teach me about investing? Dad says you used to be really good at that stuff. That made me laugh, actually laugh, for the first time in months. Yeah, I can teach you about investing. Caleb and Emma walked over to our table slowly, carefully. Emma sat down first. Dad, she said, thank you for coming today. It means a lot to Michael. It means a lot to me, too. Can we talk sometime? Just the adults? I looked at her, really looked at her, saw the dark circles under her eyes, the cheap clothes she was wearing, the chipped nail polish and roots growing out in her hair. Saw my daughter who'd made mistakes and was paying for them and was still trying. Yeah, I said, we can talk. Caleb still hadn't said anything, just stood there looking at me with an expression I couldn't quite read. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry. His voice cracked. Dad, I'm so sorry. For all of it. For the wedding, for not standing up for you, for taking your money for granted, for everything. I know sorry doesn't fix it. I know I can't undo what I did. But I need you to know that I'm sorry. The ice cream shop was quiet. Michael watched us with wide eyes. I know, I said. I know you are. Can you forgive me? That was a harder question. I thought about the past year, the anger, the loneliness, the satisfaction of watching them struggle, and the guilt that came with it, the hole in my chest that never quite closed, Michael's letter in my desk drawer. I don't know yet, I said honestly, but I'm here. That's a start. Caleb nodded, looked like he might cry but held it together. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. Probably, I agreed. Emma almost laughed, covered her mouth and turned it into a cough, but I saw it. Michael definitely laughed. So, I said, standing up. Same time next week? For the game? You're really coming back? Michael asked. I'm really coming back. Promise? I looked at my grandson, thought about my wife's voice. Take care of them. Promise me. Promise, I said. I went to the next game, and the one after that, and the one after that. Slowly, carefully, like testing ice that might break, I started rebuilding something with my children. Not what we'd had before, that was gone, burned away in the fire I'd started and they'd fed. But something new, something more honest. We met for coffee once a month, the three of us. No Rick, no grandkids, just me and Caleb and Emma sitting in a neutral coffee shop, talking about surface things at first. The weather, Michael's school, Emma's job. Slowly, the conversations got deeper. They told me about the bankruptcy, about almost losing everything, about the marriage counseling Caleb was doing even though he and Chloe were already divorced. I told them about the loneliness, about the anger that had consumed me, about Patricia leaving and not blaming her one bit. I destroyed your life, Caleb said during one of these meetings. I know I did, and I can't fix it. You didn't destroy my life, I said. You derailed it. There's a difference. Is there? Yeah. Destroyed means it's over. Derailed means you can get back on track. It just takes time. Emma reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Do you hate us? No, I did for a while. But no. Do you think you'll ever trust us again? That one was harder. I don't know. Ask me in 5 years. In August, Caleb got a better contract, something more stable. Told me about it over coffee with a look on his face like he expected me to take credit for it or throw it back in his face. I did neither. That's good, I said. You earned that. Without your help. That's the point, Caleb. He nodded. Understood. In September, I helped Michael with a school project about family trees. We sat at my apartment, the new one he'd never been to, and drew out 4 generations of Hargroves. Michael asked questions about his grandmother, about what she was like, what she would have thought of him. She would have loved you, I told him. You have her eyes. Really? Really. Do you miss her? Every day. Is that why you were so sad after the wedding? Smart kid. Too smart. Partly. It reminded me that life's too short to let people treat you badly. Even family? Especially family. He thought about that for a while, coloring in the branches of the tree. I think family should be nice to each other. Me too, buddy. In October, on the anniversary of the wedding, nobody called me. Nobody sent texts or emails or showed up at my door. They were respecting the boundaries I'd set a year ago, even though I'd loosened them since. I appreciated that more than they probably knew. I went to Michael's soccer game that Sunday. They won. We got ice cream after. Life moved forward. In November, James invited me to lunch. "You look better," he said over expensive sandwiches at his usual place. "Healthier." "I feel better." "Sleeping? Most nights?" "That's progress." He took a bite of his sandwich. "So, what are you going to do?" "About what?" "About Caleb and Emma. Long term. You've been in this holding pattern for months now. Seeing Michael, having coffee with your kids, maintaining distance. Eventually you're going to have to decide what kind of relationship you actually want with them." "I know. Do you? Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're stuck. Not moving forward, not moving back. Just stuck." I stared at my food. He was right. I'd been stuck for months, maybe longer. Trapped between the anger that had fueled me for so long and the guilt of watching my children struggle and the desperate, pathetic hope that maybe we could fix this somehow. "I don't know how to forgive them," I admitted. "I don't know if I should." "That's not a legal question." "I know what kind of question it is, James. I just don't have an answer." "Then maybe you should stop looking for one. Maybe you should just keep doing what you're doing, showing up, being present, seeing what happens." "That's not very satisfying." "No, but it's honest." I thought about that, about honesty, about the year I'd spent being brutally honest with my children about who they'd become and what they'd done, about how that honesty had destroyed everything and somehow, weirdly, made room for something new to grow. "I'm going to Thanksgiving at Emma's," I said. James raised his eyebrows. "Really?" Michael asked, said it wouldn't be Thanksgiving without me. "And you said yes?" I said yes. "Kenneth," he looked concerned, "are you sure you're ready for that?" "No, but I'm going anyway." Thanksgiving at Emma's apartment was awkward and uncomfortable, and nothing like the Thanksgivings I remembered from when the kids were young. The apartment was small, the furniture was second-hand, and the turkey was slightly dry because Emma had never been much of a cook, and I hadn't been there to help her learn. But Michael was there, excited and bouncing around showing me his room. And Rick was there, quiet but present, shaking my hand with actual respect this time. And Caleb was there with his girlfriend, a woman named Sarah who seemed nice and didn't immediately demand my apartment keys, which was a low bar, but I'd take it. We ate, made small talk, avoided the obvious topics. Michael told jokes he'd learned at school that weren't funny, but we laughed anyway. Emma burned the rolls and almost cried until I told her my first Thanksgiving turkey had been so dry it could have been used as insulation. Caleb and Rick did the dishes without being asked while Emma and I sat on the couch drinking wine and not talking. "This is weird, right?" she said finally. "So weird." "But good weird?" I thought about it. "Yeah, good weird. I keep waiting for you to leave, or get angry, or tell us we're screwing something up." "Do you want me to?" "No, God, no, I don't know how to do this. How to be your daughter after everything that happened." "Me neither," I admitted. "But we'll figure it out." "Will we?" "We're here, aren't we?" She leaned her head on my shoulder, just for a second, then sat back up like she'd remembered she wasn't allowed to do that. I almost told her it was okay, almost put my arm around her like I used to when she was little and scared of thunderstorms. Almost. but I didn't. Not yet. Baby steps. December came, winter settled in. I went to all of Michael's games, even the ones in freezing rain where I couldn't feel my fingers. Started having dinner with Caleb and Emma every other week, sometimes at their places, sometimes at restaurants, once at my apartment where they looked around like they were touring a museum. "You really started over," Caleb said, looking at my new furniture, my new pictures on the walls. "Had to. Do you like it better? This life? Different, not better or worse, just different. Do you ever think about before? Before the wedding?" All the time, I didn't say. Every single day. "Sometimes," I said instead. Christmas was coming. Michael had already asked me 3 times what I wanted, had already informed me that he was making me something in art class, and I wasn't allowed to know what it was. Emma had hinted that they were doing a small family thing at Caleb's rental house, and I was invited if I wanted to come. I hadn't decided yet. One night in mid-December, my phone rang at 11 o'clock. Caleb's number. I almost didn't answer, old habits, but something made me pick up. "Dad?" His voice was shaking. "I'm at the hospital. Can you come?" My stomach dropped. "What happened? Is Michael okay?" "Michael's fine. It's me. It's stupid. I'm fine. But the doctor wants someone to drive me home and Emma's out of town and I didn't know who else to call." "What happened, Caleb?" "I fell. Doing some work on the house, I fell off a ladder, broke my wrist, maybe cracked a rib. They gave me painkillers and I can't drive. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Dad, you don't have to. I'll be there." I got there in 15, found Caleb in the emergency room looking pale and exhausted and younger than he had any right to look at 42. His wrist was in a cast. They released him to me like I was still his emergency contact, which apparently I was. I drove him home in silence, helped him inside his rental house, which was small but clean, none of the clutter that had filled his old place. Got him settled on the couch with water and his pain pills and a blanket. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for coming." "Of course. I mean it. After everything, you didn't have to." I sat down in the chair across from him. "You're my son. You call, I come. That's how it works." "Even after what I did?" "Even after." He was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was thick. "I dream about it sometimes. The wedding. That moment when Chloe hit you and I just stood there. I dream about it and I wake up hating myself." "Caleb, no, let me finish, please." He took a shaky breath. "I was weak. I was scared. I let her control me because it was easier than standing up to her. And you paid the price. You and Michael and Emma and everyone. I destroyed our family because I was too much of a coward to do the right thing in the moment. You didn't destroy our family. You damaged it. We're rebuilding." "Are we? Really?" I looked at my son. Broken wrist, cracked rib, broken life he was slowly putting back together with his own 2 hands and no help from me. Saw the man he was becoming, or maybe the man he'd always been underneath the entitlement and weakness I'd enabled for too long. "Yeah," I said. "We really are." He started crying. Not dramatic sobbing, just quiet tears running down his face while he stared at his cast. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Dad." "I know. Do you forgive me?" That question again. The one I'd been avoiding for months. I thought about the past year and a half. The anger, the revenge, the satisfaction of watching them suffer and the guilt of causing it. Thought about Michael's letter and Thanksgiving dinner and tonight, Caleb calling me from the hospital because I was still the person he called when things went wrong. Thought about my wife's voice. "Take care of them." "Yes," I said. "I forgive you." He looked up at me like I'd just told him he'd won the lottery. "Really? Really? But Caleb," I leaned forward. "Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean things go back to how they were. It means I'm letting go of the anger. It means we can move forward. But you have to keep doing the work. Keep being better. Keep being the person Michael needs you to be." "I will. I promise. I'll never. Don't promise. Just do it. He nodded, wiped his eyes with his good hand. I stayed with him that night. Slept in his guest room on a mattress that had seen better days, woke up at 6 to help him take his morning pills and make coffee. He couldn't really do much with one hand in a cast and cracked ribs making everything hurt. I've got this, I told him when he tried to make breakfast one-handed. Sit down. You don't have to. Sit down, Caleb. He sat. I made eggs and toast, brought him a plate, sat across from him at his small kitchen table. We ate in comfortable silence, and somehow that felt like more progress than all the forced conversations we'd had over the past few months. Christmas, Caleb said eventually. Emma mentioned that we're doing dinner at my place. Are you coming? I thought about it, about what it would mean to show up, to be there, to step fully back into their lives instead of hovering at the edges. Yeah, I said. I'll be there. His smile was worth everything. Epilogue. Christmas morning, I showed up at Caleb's house at noon with a bag of gifts and a bottle of wine and absolutely no idea what I was doing. Michael answered the door, already wearing a new sweater that was too big for him, grinning like it was the best day of his life. Grandpa, you came. Look what I got. He held up some complicated-looking robot thing. It builds itself. That's amazing, buddy. Emma was in the kitchen with Sarah, Caleb's girlfriend, both of them working on dinner and laughing about something. Rick was on the couch watching football with Caleb, who still had his arm in a cast but looked happy. Normal. Like a regular family having a regular Christmas. Like maybe we were going to be okay. I gave Michael his present, a book about dinosaurs and a savings bond for his college fund, the real one, the one his parents couldn't touch. Gave Emma and Rick a gift card to the grocery store where Emma worked, practical but appreciated judging by her face. Gave Caleb a new toolbox since he'd lost most of his tools in the move and was clearly trying to fix up the rental house himself. Michael gave me the art project he'd been working on, a painted picture frame with a photo of the two of us from his last soccer game, both of us grinning at the camera like idiots. So you don't forget me, he said seriously. I could never forget you, I told him. We ate dinner. Turkey and mashed potatoes and stuffing that was actually pretty good. Emma and Sarah had figured out the cooking thing between them. We talked about safe topics, Michael's school, Rick's new job, the soccer season starting again in spring. Nobody mentioned the wedding or the past year and a half or any of it. We didn't need to. After dinner, Michael fell asleep on the couch between me and Rick, exhausted from excitement. The adults sat around talking quietly, drinking wine, watching the kids sleep. Thank you for coming, Emma said to me softly. It means everything. I know, I said. No, I mean it. After everything we did. I know what you mean, Emma. She squeezed my hand. Let go. Caleb walked me to my car when I left around 8. The night was cold and clear, stars visible despite the city lights. Dad, he said, I know we still have a long way to go. I know you're still working through things. But I need you to know. I'm never going to stop trying. To be better. To be the son you deserved all along. You don't have to be perfect, Caleb. You just have to be honest and show up. That's all. I can do that. Good. We stood there awkwardly for a moment, neither of us sure how to end this. Finally, Caleb held out his good hand. I shook it. Firm grip, steady eye contact. Good night, Dad. Good night, son. I drove home through empty streets, the heater blasting, thinking about everything that had happened, the wedding, the slap, the year of anger and revenge, and watching my children suffer for their mistakes, the slow, painful rebuilding, the uncertainty of whether we'd ever really be okay. But tonight had been good. Tonight had been real. Tonight had been family, messy and broken and trying, and maybe that was enough. I got home, parked in my spot, walked up to my apartment, put Michael's picture frame on the table by the door where I'd see it every day. Sat down on my couch and looked around at the life I'd built from scratch after everything fell apart. Different. Not better or worse, just different. And maybe, eventually, good. My phone buzzed. Text message from Caleb. "Thank you for everything. Merry Christmas, Dad." I stared at it for a long moment. Then I typed back, "Merry Christmas, son." Put the phone down, turned off the lights, went to bed. Tomorrow I'd wake up and go to the gym and have coffee and live my life. Michael had another soccer game next weekend. Emma wanted to have dinner on Tuesday. Caleb needed help fixing something in his house once his wrist healed. I'd show up. I'd keep showing up. And maybe that's what family was in the end. Not perfection or unconditional forgiveness or pretending the past didn't happen. Just showing up, doing the work, trying. One day at a time. 6 months after that Christmas, I got a call that changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning in June. I was at the gym halfway through my usual routine when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Almost sent it to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Mr. Hargrove? Kenneth Hargrove?" Speaking. "This is Detective Sarah Chen with the Financial Crimes Division. I need to speak with you about your son, Caleb Hargrove. Can you come down to the station today?" "What happened? Is he okay?" "He's fine, physically, but we need to discuss some irregularities we've discovered in his business dealings, specifically dealings that involve your name and financial information." I sat down on the nearest bench. "What kind of irregularities?" "I'd rather discuss this in person, Mr. Hargrove. Can you be here by 2 o'clock? "I'll be there by 1. I left the gym, drove home, showered in a daze, called James from my car on the way to the police station. "Don't say anything without me there," he said immediately. "I'm leaving now." "James, what could this be about?" "I don't know. But Kenneth, whatever it is, don't assume the worst. Not yet." But I was already assuming the worst. 6 months of rebuilding, 6 months of showing up and trying and believing that maybe we'd turned a corner, and now this. Financial crimes. My name. Caleb's business. History repeating itself. Detective Chen was younger than I expected, maybe 35, with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She led James and me into a small conference room with a table, 4 chairs, and a stack of folders that made my stomach sink. "Thank you for coming, Mr. Hargrove," she said, sitting down across from us. "I'll get right to it. 3 weeks ago, we received a complaint from a business owner named Thomas Brennan. He claims your son defrauded him out of $60,000 using falsified documents that bore your signature and financial backing." "That's impossible," I said immediately. "I haven't co-signed anything for Caleb in almost 2 years. "That's what we suspected." She opened the top folder and slid several documents across the table. "These are the documents in question. Can you verify whether this is your signature?" I looked at the papers. Investment agreements, financial guarantees, letters of recommendation, all with my name typed at the bottom and signatures that looked almost right. Close enough to fool someone who didn't know my actual signature intimately. "These are forgeries," I said. "I never signed any of these." "Are you certain?" "Completely certain. Look." I pulled out my wallet, showed her my driver's license signature. My signature has a very specific flourish on the H, and the G connects to the R in a particular way. These signatures don't have either of those characteristics. James was examining the documents with increasing concern. "When were these allegedly signed?" "Various dates over the past 8 months, Detective Chen said. "Mr. Brennan isn't the only complainant. We've found 6 other business owners who claim they entered into agreements with Caleb Hargrove based on financial backing from his father. Total alleged fraud, approximately $230,000. The room spun. $230,000? Your son has been essentially running a scheme where he promises potential clients that his father, a respected former financial consultant, is backing his ventures. He shows them these documents as proof. They invest, he takes their money, and when the projects fail to materialize, he claims his father withdrew support. But I couldn't finish the sentence. James put a hand on my arm. Detective, my client is clearly a victim of identity theft here, not a co-conspirator. What evidence do you have that Kenneth knew about any of this? None, currently, which is why he's here as a witness, not a suspect. But Mr. Hargrove, I need to ask, has your son had access to any of your financial documents, bank statements, tax returns, anything he could have used to make these forgeries more convincing? I thought about the years of automatic payments, the co-signed loans, all the times I'd helped Caleb with paperwork and contracts. Years ago, yes, before I cut him off financially, but nothing recent. And you cut him off because he and his wife betrayed my trust, I said quietly, and because I wanted him to learn to stand on his own. Detective Chen nodded slowly. Mr. Hargrove, I need you to understand something. If your son did this, and the evidence strongly suggests he did, he's facing serious criminal charges. Wire fraud, identity theft, forgery. He could be looking at 10 years in federal prison. The room went silent. I need to talk to him, I said finally. I wouldn't recommend that, James said immediately. Kenneth, if this goes to trial, anything you say to Caleb could be discoverable. You could be called to testify against him. I don't care. I need to hear this from him. Detective Chen closed her folders. We're bringing him in for questioning tomorrow at 9 a.m. After that, he'll likely be arrested. If you want to talk to him, it needs to be before then. Give me his address. Kenneth, James started. Give me his address. She wrote it down on a piece of paper and slid it across the table. The same rental house where we'd had Christmas, where I'd helped him after he broke his wrist, where I'd started believing we could fix this. I took the paper and left.